fifth session of ICC Sustainability Conclave 2021. We are in this session on issues in management, air, soil, water. This session is being chaired by Mr. Suresh Ramchandran, Country Head and MD, Arkema. Mr. Ramchandran is primarily a chemical engineer, followed by a management degree. He has been with Arkema for more than 25 years now and has handled multiple and diverse business portfolios. Through his years of experience, he has been in different roles in sales, marketing, production, projects, procurement, and general management. He has also been closely associated with the Indian Chemical Council over the past years and currently part of the executive committee. And the co-chair that we have for this session is Mr. B. Vivek Shetty, Chairman of Viswat Chemicals Limited. Mr. Shetty, after his initial education from Mangalore, has been in Mumbai for over 4 decades. He's a postgraduate in commerce and management. He's the chairman of Viswat Chemicals Limited, a specialty chemical, surfactant and formulation manufacturing company based in Mumbai, having its manufacturing base at Amarnath in Maharashtra and at Dahej in Gujarat. He's in chemical business for more than 25 years. Viswat Chemical is an RC logo holding company. So after this introduction, I would hand over the mic and the floor to Mr. Suresh Ramchandran to kindly conduct this part of the session.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra, and good evening, everybody. It's an honor for me to chair this evening session. It's been a wonderful 2 days on sustainability topics. And today's topic also is a very important one right now. We're talking about air, water, and soil, very key topics. And I'm hosting the 3 eminent panelists here. I'm supposed to introduce them to you. Actually, these 3 people really need no introduction. They are stalwarts in the industry. But still, I would give you an introduction first. So I'll introduce all the 3 panelists. And then after that, each one of them spend about 7 to 8 minutes or 10 minutes talking about the topic. And then subsequently, we will have a debrief and also a Q&A. So our first panelist is Karthik Bharatram, who is Deputy Managing Director of SRF Limited. He's also the Chairman of ICC for our northern region. And, as you all know, SRF is a diversified chemical company, manufacturing industrial and specialty intermediates. Karthik has strengthened the performance-based culture at SRF through a very strong value-based leadership. He's a very strong advocate on issues related to environmental responsibility and sustainability. And with a very multifaceted leadership, he's today shaped SRF into a trusted corporate brand. In addition, he's also the chairman of Kama Holdings, which holds a majority share in SRF. And apart from that, he's associated with many educational initiatives in India. He's originally a graduate from Santa Clara University, California, followed by an MBA from Cornell University, New York. And importantly, on the sporting side, he's a very avid golfer and has been a winner of some Pro-Am golf tournaments too. Yeah, I see a smile on Karthik's face when I mentioned golf. Our next panelist is Mr. Chandan Sengupta, who is also a chairman of ICC Eastern Region. Mr. Sengupta is a senior vice president and head of marketing and commodity business for Haldia Petrochemicals. He's a distinguished alumnus from BITS Pilani and followed by IIM Kolkata. Mr. Sengupta is also an executive member in the Indian Plastic Federation and also at the CPMA. He has participated in numerous exhibitions, conferences, international exhibitions, and forums like ICIS, and presented many papers there. And finally, Mr. Sengupta's experience in the petrochemicals industry is unmatched, and he comes in with a solid 21 years of experience in petrochemicals. And his insight and knowledge would be worth listening to. Our third panel, Mr. V.T. Murthy. He's also the chairman of ICC for the Southern region. and Director of Tanfac Industries. Mr. Murthy is a professional engineer from 1962 with a postgraduate in management from Manchester Business School. He's been connected with the Aditya Birla Group for more than 36 years. He started his career at Hindalco and subsequently has been CEO of different units in the group. He has a very wide experience in production, maintenance, asset management, technology development, both within India and overseas units. He was the pioneer in TPM management in India all the way back in 1993. And he's also been guiding various teams on implementation front. Mr. Murthy also gives lectures in different gatherings on maintenance, different seminars, and also as a consultant to implement TPM in other industries. After retirement, he is still a member in the Business Review Council in the Aditya Birla Group for cement and chemicals businesses. So as you see, we have a very, very distinguished audience representing 3 key regions of India. And I think what they talk on air, soil management, these are very key issues on sustainability today. And especially with India, probably I always believe that the next 10 years is going to be a key decade for Indian chemical industry. And I think on sustainability initiatives are going to play a key part. And we would really like to hear from the 3 panelists here on what they have been doing in their companies on these initiatives on air, soil, and water, and also in the region. So I would like to go with Karthik first. Karthik?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I speak on behalf of SRF and the northern region over here. We all know that the chemical business, for us at least, is a key growth driver, and in general for the country has been a key growth driver over the last many years. Today's world, from the food we consume, the way we travel, and the technology we harness, depends on the products from the chemical industry. It is through responsible production, use, and management of chemicals that we can minimize the negative impact, protect the environment, promote social progress, and support economic growth. At SRF, and again, as a chemical industry as a whole, we have a responsibility to create a sustainable business environment, and we continue our journey in finding new ways to adopt good sustainability practices. And the various areas that we look at is obviously air and greenhouse gas emissions, energy efficiency, water consumption and discharge, usage of materials, waste management, use of renewable energy, biodiversity, and resource conservation. Now, I know that a lot of organizations in the north, and we have some excellent chemical companies over here, have made a huge amount of effort on these areas. One is from a responsible care perspective, those who are a part of the responsible care institution, and others also who have become, I would say, the more organized companies, and a lot of our ICC members, I know, have been making a huge effort on this front in terms of improving on this. Let me talk a little bit, and I can give you more of a perspective of SRF, and then we can try and broaden it to a larger level. One of our key businesses in the chemical area is on refrigerant gases. Going back many years now to the Montreal Protocol, we used to predominantly be making CFCs, which got banned over a period of time and had to be phased out. Then came the HCFCs, hydrofluorocarbons, which also have been phased out. A lot of effort has been put by us in developing the new generation of products which have either lower ozone depleting power or greenhouse gas emissions. And we've been developing HFCs, which is 134A, which is a key gas that goes into your car ACs now, which has a much lower global warming potential. And the new developments that we're doing in the area of HFOs, which has a much, much lower and will be in circulation in a way for the next 20 to 30 years across the world. So as an organization, and I know this is true of a lot of progressive chemical companies, have been working on a lot of R&D to see how we can improve ourselves and become more relevant to the world and India in the long run. So from SRF's perspective again, there is a lot of effort from the air pollution perspective, if you want to call it that, since refrigerant gases had that implication, that we've made huge improvements. Okay. what we've had to do, and I know again a lot of large companies which have the CSR budgets or even otherwise have done a lot to help
Hi,
the
Rishabh.
communities
I was
around
saying
themselves
at
in terms of
6:30
whether
we
it
should
is in
give
the
them the
area
chain
of
to join.
soil preservation and improvement, water, reducing water discharge. Now, for example, our plant in
I
Bhiwadi,
was
which is
saying 6:30 बजे
a
में कौन
chemical
सा
plant that
लिंक
we've had there for 30 years
बॉडी
now.
का?
We are a net water creator rather than a user. And we've done this by actually developing about 4,000 hectares of land which we've created into dams, where we've done a lot of plantation, and this was very arid land. And we made it into arable land, and all this obviously counts towards how you're improving the soil, the water conservation, etc. in that area. And I think the biggest example for us in terms of saying, and I know again this is true of Jubilant and other organizations in the north, if you see the way the crops grow around our plant, it is a perfect example to show that you can be responsible in the way that you actually put up a chemical industry if crops can thrive right around your boundaries. Because there's this whole sort of connotation that if it's chemical industry, it's going to be dangerous, it's going to ruin everything around you. But we found enough examples of us working along with the communities around us to make sure that the communities thrive, that the various aspects of the environment thrive. And I think this has been appreciated by people over a period of time, as well as the bureaucracy and all of the government. I think there was this whole concern, and unfortunately, a lot of it goes back to the whole Union Carbide stuff and all, in terms of what is the implication of having a chemical industry around you. And to tell you the truth, we've had people, whether there are people who are trying to now develop housing, etc., and go into semi-urban places, who've come and said chemical industry dangerous. Why do you allow it? And they've been, actually riling up the villagers to do this. And we've created so much goodwill by doing a lot of work, which I again say a lot of ICC companies have done, that we haven't had to really worry about this. And touch wood, I think a lot of our companies have been very careful about safety practices as well. We know post COVID and post the lockdown, there were some safety issues that came up across the country. But touch wood, in the northern region, we haven't had any real issue. I think we've all been careful because, again, all this has an implication in terms of sustainability, in terms of what happens to the environment around us. So, all in all, I would say that I feel whether it is through the guidance of ICC or otherwise, I think the practice of the organized sector in the chemical industry has been improving a lot over the many years. I think there is some concern whether the same amount of regulatory pressure is put on the smaller companies and on some of the MSMEs, where a lot of the pollution, etc., may be actually happening, and maybe the soil is also getting spoiled around there. But unfortunately, that bad name sort of passes on to us as well. And I think that is an effort that we need to make, whether as ICC as a part of our CSR efforts to help the MSMEs or through some other means on how to improve that larger part. So one of the projects that we're working on in ICC Northern Region through the help of Covestro is actually improving the perception of the chemical industry in the northern area. And I mean, if this is successful, obviously we'd like to take it right across the country. But that's what I had in mind to talk about from a northern region perspective.
Thank you very much, Karthik. A lot of insights from you there. We'll come back to you with questions later on. Mr. Shetty will handle the second part later. So thank you very much for all this sharing of knowledge from your side. Next, I'd like to go to Mr. Sengupta. Could you please share your thoughts? Mr. Sengupta, you are muted. Could you please unmute yourself?
Good evening, everybody, and thanks so much to ICC for giving me an opportunity to talk something about the East. I mean, East is not something which is not normally talked about in any of the industry forums. We are the fourth in the petrochemical and chemical sector, but we are catching up. I think today is a good day for ICC to talk about air and water and things, especially since yesterday the new US president decided to get back into the climate change. So I think I don't know whether ICC timed it knowingly or it happened otherwise, but I think it augurs well for the entire universe. As far as our own company, Haldia Petrochemical, is concerned, we are a petrochemical unit having our own naphtha cracker, and we are one of the lesser polluting companies. But in spite of that, I think we have always from the beginning been extremely mindful of our obligations to the society and the environment. And I think definitely, if not in the entire eastern region, but in the West Bengal, we can talk about the greatest percentage of green corridor which we have within our own manufacturing complex. And in fact, this time when this terrible cyclone, that Amphan, hit us in May, almost as much as 40,000 trees within our complex got uprooted. Now we have already taken a program to ensure that within a very short time we shall be replenishing the entire green belt in all its earlier entirety and have the same number of trees. So that is our way of putting back into the environment and ensuring that the air and the soil is taken care of. As far as the water is also concerned, we are heavily dependent on the river water for our cooling purposes. And as you know, a petrochemical industry with a naphtha cracker requires a whole lot of water for cooling purposes. So even with a very, very high chloride content in the most time of the year, we have developed our own method to ensure that we don't get into the groundwater and use most of the river water and keep on recycling it so that there is no further depletion of the groundwater. But having said that, I think unlike the most of the other chemical industry, our contribution towards sustainability, towards the overall ecology is different. We are the so-called bad boys of the industry. I mean, anywhere you go, whether it is in Delhi, whether it is in Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta, you find near the schools and other places, this is a plastic-free zone. I mean, as if we are making potassium cyanide or something. I mean, anytime there is a waterlogging in Mumbai, some politician in his or her wisdom blames plastic. I mean, as if like the waterlogging wouldn't have happened if the plastic bags weren't there. And no one really thinks, I mean, today, if the plastic wasn't there during the COVID times, can you guys really think what would have happened and what would you have made the PPs out of? What would the various, I mean, the grocery bags which come and get delivered outside your doorsteps, I mean, they couldn't have been done in the jute bags. There's simply not so much of jute. And if you had jute, you wouldn't have had rice or you wouldn't have had water. But having said that, as I said, certain NGOs and other interested people in their wisdom or lack of it decided to make the entire petrochemical or the plastics bad boys because of some irresponsible behavior like from people like us who have some potato chips and decide to throw the bag onto the street. So over the last 1.5 years, what we have done, and in a small way, and primarily in the Eastern India, but again, more concentrated in the West, we have tied up with ICP, which is the Indian, this thing, which is the nodal body, which looks after the environment. Indian Council for Plastics and Environment as NGO. We have tied up with them and we are conducting continuous seminars sessions with the schools, with the governmental agencies on how to improve upon the waste management. And we are also collaborating with the government very actively in putting into effect the plastic waste management provisions. And within some time, I mean, we have told all our customers that if they do not have the necessary papers and are registered with the Pollution Control Board, we would be forced to review our supply to them. So we have gone that far because we know at the end of the day, the plastics have to be thicker material for a proper waste management to be in place. We have to educate people that it is not the plastics which are bad, but it is the way we deal with them which are bad. And the other aspect which we are now again started, we have already invested quite a lot of capital investment for our equipment, is working with some of our major customers to actually use reprocessed material in their own packing. I mean, the people who are doing the, let's say, lubricant jerry cans and all. I mean, that's quite actually a bizarre thing to do. We're actually hitting back at our own demand. That we were actually telling our customers, hey, look, please don't use full virgin material. Please use 2 to 5% of the good recycled materials, so that at end of the day, you are actually using lesser of these products. We know that it's going to hit our demand in the long term, but we feel that in terms of our broader responsibility towards the environment, towards the society, this is something which has to be done. I mean, people have to, I mean, the 3 R's, the reduce, recycle, and reuse. We are taking this seriously, working with, I'm sorry, I will not be able to divulge the names. Those are big names. We are now working with them at our laboratory in Kolkata and trying to see how their packaging material can use some of the reprocessed and deliver to their end customers as good a product as they were, even knowing fully well that we are going to hit upon our own demand. So we are working with them in that also, that area also, so that at the end of the day, the overall consumption level is reduced and the world is a better place to live in. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sengupta. Very, very good insights on plastic and plastic management. I know plastic is a contentious topic always, and it's the more we share information, the better with people. And I think absolutely your point is well taken. And we'll come back later with more questions to you. Thank you very much. And I would like to go to Mr. Murthy right now. Mr. Murthy, if you're ready, I think Mr. Murthy has a presentation to share, right?
Yeah. Can I ask them to make a presentation? Yeah. Okay. That's right. Thank you, ICC, for giving the opportunity for the regional chairman to share their ideas. In fact, what I do is my colleagues have started about their unit, about their problems. What I do from southern region is I'll give you from the broader picture, then come back to what exactly ICC is doing, ICC southern region is doing to industry. The major industry problem today in chemical industry is like what Karthik had said, is about the perception. Perception about the industry as such, all of us know it's not very good. In fact, even NGT takes some strict measures against erring industry, but still a long way to achieve goal of clean green chemistry, which is what we have been talking for the last 2 days. But how do we implement it? That is going to be a major challenge in our industry there. Now, imbalanced growth, as far as South is concerned, there's a heavy concentration in West, only a few products or value chains in the southern region. Of course, the reasons are very well known to many of you. But the main problem, which we have talked, even what Mr. Mishra had said in the previous session, is about these MSMEs, which Karthik also had touched upon. So for them, they have just grown up over the last 20 years, 30 years, with all the old technology. There was nobody to help them. Whereas the larger industries have installed new equipment, modern technology, have brought in technology for getting the pollution level down to the regulation, even below what the regulatory authorities specify. The MSMEs do not have that access to technology or access to equipment. Now, what Karthik had said is, see, as a CSR point, probably I think larger units have to adopt some chemical units. But one, as I was based in Thailand for a long year, and then I used to look after the plants, including Chinese plants. So I have a lot of exposure in plants in China. A lot of things to learn from China, which I will share in these some of the slides here. So they had a lot of small, medium industries like us. In fact, every municipality had a factory, because technology is copied. The center gives the technology, and there will be mushroom of that. Probably, I think Karthik knows, because we are in the HF industry. There are so many HF plants, small HF plants. It used to be in China. I'm talking about 1984 or 90s, which was giving. In fact, they were polluting so much. You see, I visited many of them. But then what the Chinese government did was, during that Olympic period, they just removed all these small industries. In fact, even one of our major unit also got removed. And then they moved them all to an industrial park, specifically made for these small people. And each state had central park where all facilities are given. Infrastructure is put there. You can call them park or whatever it is. All the, including the steam, air, all the infrastructure is available to the units. In fact, even some of the parks had even the technology. They give you the technology, and as well as, sorry, they give the technology as well as even equipments. They are available on lease, so that you can do some process. If you want, you can do it in the central one. You've got the timing, you do your process, clean the process, come back and do it. So that is how they could control. Today, if you go to China, you don't see the China what I used to see in the 80s and 90s. It completely changed. So that type of revolutionary change has to come to India now. So that is what I said about the point here. Many MSMEs in chemical business, they are operating with old technology. So they are definitely releasing issues. They are polluting water. They are letting out all the effluents into the water stream. There is an issue with MSMEs we have to recognize. Like in the previous session, I heard a speaker said, we have to be transparent and accept that there is a problem. Yes, you can't go on hiding problem and between the industry and the government, hide and seek. That we should not do that. If there is a problem, let us have a problem, and larger industries can give a hand to the smaller units as how to improve the technology and how to do it. And then our problem is about these HASCM units. They are located close to towns and villages. I'm talking about some small, some large units. In China, they identified all HASCM units, as I said, and moved them to special parks with strict surveillance and to prevent human exposure. They have brought in robots working in HASCM areas so that nobody goes there and no human life is lost there. Like we are engaging contract workers and asking them to go and work in certain areas. This is the reality. I'm talking because I've been in the industry for 53 years. So we know there is a problem from our side. We have to accept it. Now, what is the focus which is required? If Indian chemical industry is to grow, like what Prime Minister said, is to $300 billion by 2030, next 10 years with a clean operation, what we have been talking for the last 2 days, we need to be like US or Euro Union. We need to focus on infrastructure support. That means build more integrated complexes. The future small-scale industries should always have every state, maybe probably certain selected districts where that skill is available, have central parks. Like Tamil Nadu is having now a pharma park as well as chemical park. They are planning now. So like that, similar parks have to be planned where the complete infrastructure is available, and then where we can monitor about the probably sustainability factors like weather, pollution, air, or whatever, and facilitate MSMEs to move to exclusive park in each state. And the need for 3 petrochemical complexes in the southern region, we don't have. maybe I can request, I think Mr. Sengupta is working on one from Haldia Petrochemical side into Tamil Nadu. I would request him to expedite that, because that is where we all depend on you, because you will be the mother plant to supply all the, because there are a lot of chemical units that actually, originally, if you take back about 30 years back or 40 years back, it is Mettur Chemical which started first, even before that. Similarly, Calcutta had that, West Bengal had Bengal Chemical. Then came all the Gujarat and thing. They have marched ahead, but these two are left behind because there is no raw material available. We have to depend on outsourcing from other import or from other. So we need to have some crackers, and so that will provide all the raw materials to the industry in the south. Then, as I said, as everybody has been sort of telling the same thing, MSMEs should have a milder form of responsible care. We don't have to have all these sections of responsible care, what we are doing for the larger unit. Like I said, in TPM, because I've been in TPM for the last 30 years. So TPM has simple process, safety and she pillar. Similar to that, like for example, Bajaj, what Bajaj did when they followed TPM, they brought all the ancillary industries under TPM. Similarly, like a suggestion had come from Mr. Mishra, all of us, whoever is supplying to us or to whom we are supplying, we must take responsible care in a simpler version, not so complicated version with so many pillars, whatever it is called. So, and then now coming back to China now, because China has done it. See, you leave alone, other factors of China. Let us keep two things separate: business separate, politics separate. So from business, we have to learn a lot. So at least I have learned personally a lot from China, the systems, and then over the last 10 years. So we need to follow some committees at government level, involve the government people there. After all, they are the policy makers. So we need to keep them in the committees, visit China, see how they are doing it. Now coming to the global level awareness, whether India has got, yes, India has got. In fact, 2020 is when you go forward, it will be like a Green Deal. When you have the Green Deal, it will be much tougher for us to export, because we want to be make in India and export. We need to be very conscious about the environment here in our case. Next slide. Next slide, please. So how to change the public perception? Because Karthik said, everybody knows that the perception is a problem. So from chemical company side, we have to integrate sustainability into the strategy. In our strategy, at the design stage itself, we need to think about it. It is not sustainability, is not a cost component. We have to look at it as a revenue model. See, earlier in those days, you see, it was a different thing, what it used to be and what now. It has to be a part of our strategy, and it is going to be a revenue model, because it will pay you in the longer run. Reduce emission, that has to be initiatives to be taken. Reduce waste, innovation push, economic growth. Now from government side, so ensure feedstock availability and necessary amenities. That's all the government should do. Don't get involved into the manufacturing side. Define and evaluate required sustainability goals. The problem with us, you see, is too much of interference and too much of still control is there. Of course, a lot better as compared to 5 years, 10 years back. And implement policies, training and favorable incentives thing. So training is the factor which government can cooperate with the private industry, so that we can do a good skill build area here. Evaluate public perception and organize awareness campaign. That is where both should work together, government as well as the private one. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide? So earlier for compliance, what we used to do is we used to look at just a waste treatment plant or technology for efficiencies. Now for sustainability, we look at zero waste or convert waste to another product. But again, when you're converting to another product, don't build this has come into that. Has come should be removed or should be eliminated, because if it goes on, recycling has come again, somewhere it has to be discharged. So that is the one thing which we have to be very careful about it. And technology for sustainability, including green processes. We have been talking about green processes for the last 10 years. We have been talking. I think still it has not penetrated. And product stewardship and meet sustainability goals. zero waste processes. We are all aware of it. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I'm just putting on three slides there. Industry fully agrees with what public expects from us. We have a responsibility. But what we are saying is, don't put you are a policing job, you do it, but it will be like a may I help you type, so that you have some experts and some consultants look into our problems and then tell the pollution control board, here is the problem and where we can work together. But that is the culture which you have to bring in. Now, industry also has to realize, if we do not change our old ways of operation polluting environment, public and courts will force us to close down. Similar thing you have seen what has happened in the state, particularly in Tamil Nadu. At the same time, a balanced approach is required by formulating environmental policies, rules and regulation by government. Some standards are so stringent, especially with some discharge standards for organic chemical dyes and agrochemical sector, and into the marine discharge limits, which are very difficult to achieve even with most modern technology. So it affects the cost and we become globally uncompetitive. Ease of doing business, I don't have to talk much about it. Next slide. Next slide, please. Now, present system of classifying clusters into red, orange category. I want to just share our views here, because we have a problem in South. Because whatever industry are there, they are all caught in that red zone and orange zone. Because the CEPI index is coming into the picture, and then the sampling is done overnight as a secretive thing. There is no transparency there. Leave it to the state CPCBs for sampling, and let them take the sample continuously on 365 days. Work out the average, then you decide the CEPI score, not based on one or two sampling. And that is one thing which I think we should take it up with the CPCBs, Central Pollution Control Board. Then create more accredited state-of-art testing centers. We need to have more testing centers which are approved by the PCBs, so that we get it done. Then this point, which has been IITs and other CSR labs, which has been touched upon by Mr. Mishra, is a very relevant point, which I think is being done in China. I have seen it. In fact, some of our design, when we put up the plant, we have to share it with the central design department, and they evaluate your design, and they give an approval, and they have the right to transmit it to other units also. That, of course, we can't allow that, but at least it is all technologies are reviewed by some specialized force committees. So problems, especially here, what we can do is, institutions are there, they are very efficient, good, many of them are very experienced doctorates in that. But then what is happening is, right now there is some gap between industry and R&D. So that I think some agency has to come in. In fact, they can set up centers in our clusters. For example, Manali cluster or some clusters where they can bring the students, so that those students will get exposure to the industry. We can give them the problem. For us, it is a third opinion, because the students will work exclusively on those. I remember when I was in Hindalco, I was the coordinator for BITS Pilani. I don't know whether BITS Pilani people remember that. In 1974, we started the first practice school. And it was very useful, Mr. G.D. Birla's idea. That was Mr. G.D. Birla's idea at that time. So similar thing has to be there has to be centers at each cluster where the institutions and the colleges, they bring the students here, send them over to the industry, look at the problem, and then give us proper solution, economical feasibility solution. Next one. Next, please. So some excess, now come to the real problem. Excess carbon dioxide, hydrogen, etc. can be converted into useful product. The Coal India has a plan to produce methanol. Methanol is one product which we lack, we import. There are methanol plants in China, the huge, large plants. And then we are now thinking of starting from coal. Government of India also is encouraging industry to set up small-scale ethanol plants. Then the issue which is common to all of us, the huts and housing complexes coming up near chemical clusters. We go there, we set up our unit, and we have a lot of green area around. Then we see the hutman come, and hutman becomes a small villages, then villages become towns. That is how the Bhopal incident happened. This is happening everywhere. We understand the problems of the government. You cannot remove the existing people. At least in the future, we should ensure any complexes, any parks we build, there must be a large 5-kilometer radius at least, so that nothing comes in, no habitation comes in. It's not that there will be accident, but this can happen 1 in a million times. And various state governments are proposing to have exclusive plug-in park for pharma, API, specialty chemicals, and they are giving concession to that. So our request is even the chemical industry also should go into that small and MSMEs, and they should also have the same treatment like what we are giving now, pharma and API. Next, please. So state government may expedite issuing a separate policy for chemical industry. I think Gujarat has done, Tamil Nadu has not come up. We have been discussing with the government here. I think we do need to have a separate policy for chemical industry so that we can attract investment here. We also consider same benefits which I already covered. Regulatory agency policy of issuing closure notices for even small issues. This has to be re-looked into. This is indeed a sword hanging on industry all the time, because honorary NGT may please be informed about the problems faced by industries in case of sudden closure. Not only employees lose the job, company loses the market, country's reputation as a reliable source gets affected. We do not get orders if we are declared as one of the polluters. So finally, GST and import duty exemption for all pollution abatement devices, including instrument and equipment used for zero emission. So thank you. This is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murthy, for providing so many insights, raising up so many issues, and also giving some solutions to these problems. I think this is plaguing all our industry today. Just before I hand it over to Mr. Shetty, one important summary which we really get is that all of us need to be sustainable in running our plants if we have to stay in the business. Forget growing the business. Today, to stay in our business in a few years' time, we need to be sustainable. And we need to help each other on that. And air, water, and soil, one of the key elements in how we sustainable we are and we would be in the future. So I would now like Mr. Shetty to take this forward for the Q&A from his panelist, and also if there are questions from the audience. Mr. Shetty. Mr. Shetty, you're on mute. Could you please unmute yourself, Mr. Shetty?
Yeah. Now it's okay? Audible?
Yes,
Yeah?
you're audible. You're audible.
Okay. Thank you very much, Suresh. And also the speakers have that extremely good speech as far as, the very important subject today. That is especially when you're talking about the soil, water, and air. And if you add two more items in that is a fire as well as sky, it becomes Panchabhuta. But you talk about, that the cosmic, that these five things, which is because of that we are surviving in this world. Out of that, three items are very beautifully covered. And now we know that, okay, because the speaking wise is also concerned, they have given the practical, experiences. And here, that, okay, because I would like to ask, because I don't have this too many, questions from the people, but at least, that I have got one question to Mr. Karthi. Especially, they are one of the largest chemical companies in the country today. That they have the units in the, one is mainly with the industrial zone, like JDC, and also they have got the industries in the private zone also, especially in the northern side. So when you have, these kind of large units in the private zones, don't you think that, that you have too many nuisance from the local people? And how you manage it, these kind of, especially in air, water, or, you talk about the soil matters.
So I think I sort of touched upon this earlier, Mr. Shetty, that any chemical industry, and especially going back 30 years, perception has been poor due to even politicians or other people with vested interests always poisoning the minds of villagers and the community around you. And one of our efforts, and I don't know whether you want to call this related to sustainability or not, has always been to build strong bonds with the community around us. And even in a place like Bhiwadi where we are, and there aren't that many chemical companies there, there are a handful. We've had to do a lot of work with the villages. So whether it starts with education, whether it starts with helping them out in other ways, and showing them that we mean well, and that we actually are providing employment, etc., to them. All these things, as is true with any relationship, it takes time to build trust, and it takes one incident to lose that trust. So this is something that we've had to build over a long period of time in terms of the goodwill. Even the areas that I talked about, the 4,300 hectares of land that we've helped redevelop in terms of natural resource management, where we've put 4.2 lakh trees. This has provided employment to so many people over there who were just goat farmer herders earlier. Now they are agriculturalists. They have other sources of employment as well. We've also been pushing a lot in terms of young girls' education. So when the general quality of education and the level of education, especially among spouses and girls and children, improve over there, they understand when a company which is actually trying to do good work is appreciated, and otherwise somebody who's just there for their own vested interests or whatever. And even to tell you the truth, we've had to build our relationships with the local district magistrates and the district collectors and all that. And this can be through asking the guy to do some sort of ribbon cutting, this, that, whatever else, but also helping him out in his own cause of education, helping him in cause out of other things that are his responsibility. He starts appreciating what you can do. So I think this has been a larger part in terms of the sort of community building that one has to do in and around one's plants.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you very much. For Mr. Chandan Sengupta, that I have one simple question. That is, today, you mentioned that, the eastern sector is the fourth in petrochemical area. That fourth, that in terms of in all over the country. But still, that why the downstream projects have not come up compared to Maharashtra or, that actually Gujarat is concerned. What is the main reason?
Well, that's a very good question, sir. The fact that Eastern India lags in the industrial development, I think let's not get into that. I mean, that will get out of the chemical and petrochemical realm into some other area, which I don't want to get into. But having said that, as far as petrochemical is concerned, I remember when Haldia Petrochemicals came in the year 2000, West accounted for around 50+%, 52, 53% of polymer processing in India, and Eastern India was 8 to 9%. Since then, of course, the entire Indian polymer industry has grown fairly well on a consistent basis. And the best part is the percentages still remain the same. Now, we have kept up with the pace of the growth, but not anymore. I think number one, West got a good head start because initially petrochemicals was a supply-driven growth. I mean, you had initially the IPCL coming in, you had the Nocils of the world, you had IPCL coming in, you had the Reliance and everyone coming in. And then, of course, we came in here. The other thing is, I think there are also not too many of the end users, the large consuming sectors in FMCG, white goods also, automobile in the Eastern India, which also hasn't really helped spurring the growth. So, and chemicals, of course, I mean, for example, we manufacture two major chemicals, benzene and butadiene, as a part of our naphtha cracking process. Unfortunately, we have to export the complete quantity because there is simply no takers in the entire Eastern India. There's just no industries. So I think we are looking at not only an industrial problem, we are looking at a far larger problem. We are looking at some very major investments coming in. We are looking at center-state relationship, everything. Things which I think this is not the forum to really talk about. But I think given the almost 30% of India's population lives in the Eastern India, I think in every sector we are way behind in terms of our productivity. So I think something needs to be done and done fast if this inequality is to sort of get reduced.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sengupta. Now we know that I have a question to Mr. V.T. Murthy. See, sir, now actually, as far as the industry is concerned, that okay, because we can always divide into three sectors: large sector, the medium sector, and the smaller sector. See, today, smaller sector, the small scale industries are, the largest producers also. They are very important people. But looking at the present condition, what we have in India, the ETPs or the CTPs, that okay, they're not functioning of that. You go to any industrial sector, any cluster, that okay, CTPs are not functioning. As far as that okay, because largest sector, medium sector is concerned, they know how to manage it. Because for them, we are talking about the sustainability. Whereas the smaller sector is concerned, it is survival. See, first, that okay, unless you survive, and then the question of the sustainability comes. First, survive. Even in order to survive itself, see, they don't know how to manage their effluent water. For a simple reason is concerned, they have put up the plant just because the CTP is going to take care of their effluent. They will only treat the primary sector, secondary and tertiary is managed by the CTP. Whereas unfortunately, that most of the places CTP is not working. And also today, that okay, this is an opportunity for chemical industry is so much. And I can say that during this pandemic for the last the 10 to 12 months, and almost everybody sees the business has grown by 30 to 40%. And accordingly, the 30 to 40% pollution also has grown. So the regulations are becoming more tough. NGTs became more tough. Supreme Court is become more tough. There are so many closure notices. There are so many, that okay, this, show cause notices. And, that the NGOs are becoming tough. Under these circumstances, that okay, in the short run, medium and large run, okay, we'll talk about, 300 billion, this, that, and all. In the short term, maybe for the next 6 months or 1 year, how to take the advantage of the business and what is the remedy for the small scale industries, according to you, Mr. Modi?
Well, I think very relevant question you have put it up.
Yeah.
I think the answer lies in the fact that small scale industry alone by itself, they are small babies. You consider them as small babies. They are still not grown. And there is no opportunity for them to grow now because they are only all spread everywhere. And particularly, for example, Tamil Nadu, the maximum MSMEs are there in chemical sector. Some are doing well, some are not doing well. Particularly, this pandemic has really caused them problem in financial business because all loans have not been given. So they are very tight on that. And your question is very right. Whether they will, a man who is hungry, whether he look after his bread problem or any other clothes come under later. So for him, first is to sustainability as far as food is concerned. But then where is the market for them? Market for them is only the larger units. They are the people who really buy and they don't make payment in time. So whether it is automobiles ancillaries or chemical ancillaries, the problem lies with us also. The larger units, we are not really giving them the market, either the market access or at least you can even extend loan from our side. After all, we are better off. Well, can't you think of extending loan to your own suppliers so that they are financially they are all right? But in the long run, as I said, short run, each will find his own problem. They're all swimming now. Each one knows how to swim. The problem is in the long run. If you initiate now, the next generation will have a nice, beautiful MSMEs like what China has. Now, of course, government has started each district some item like toys. They are giving to some district. Like this is what happened China 20 years back. Now at least we are doing it now. I think let us do it and then let us follow that as well as look after them in the short period. Thank you.
I think we are running out of time now, Mr. Shetty, so we can conclude.
Yeah, now we are concluding. Thank you very much, all the speakers. It was an excellent this subject. That we can discuss the whole day, and also the topic which was selected was excellent. And thank you very much, Mr. Suresh Ramachandran, for chairing the session, and also the speakers. So that actually this management of this air, soil, water. So long you want to be in the business, you should know how to manage it. Let us conclude with this, and thank you very much, Mr. Mishraji. And now the mic is over to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was a great discussion from all the 4 regions of the country. So thank you all. Now we'll move to the last and final session. This is a concluding session. And in this session, we are going to have an address in terms of looking ahead by Mr. Vijay Shankar, immediate past President ICC and Deputy Chairman Sanmar Group. Mr. Vijay Shankar, who holds a Master's in Business Administration from
Distinguished members and colleagues from the chemical industry, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen, the strong foundation of the conference that we laid last year is now being successfully continued despite the unforeseen challenges that we are now facing. The continuation of the Sustainability Conclave exemplifies ICC's strong commitment to promote the cause of sustainability. I am glad that sustainability is now gaining its deserved attention, and our efforts every year are bringing all the like-minded people together. The role of chemicals and petrochemicals is significantly important today as it enables countless products that are needed by customers. There is hardly a segment in which chemicals and petrochemicals do not play a part in supporting our existence or improving our existence. These include life-saving medical care, including PPE, gloves, chemical biocides and disinfectants for personal, household and industrial usage, agrochemicals for ensuring food security, and plastic products and packaging that help prevent contamination of food, medicine, personal care, and medical products. The pandemic has only further strengthened our industry's role in many of these activities, and I think has, in many ways, has highlighted the importance of the Indian chemicals and petrochemicals industry. The chemicals and petrochemicals industry has stood strong in these difficult times and supported the country through continuous production and also exports. The Indian chemical industry is expected to reach $300 billion by 2025 from the current level of about $170 billion. This requires a lot of attention and collaboration amongst all the stakeholders who would benefit from such growth. But the key underlying element behind this growth has to be sustainability. And this has been the key area of focus for the ICC for the last many years. Environment and sustainability has always been something that we put above all other causes. We are eternally grateful to our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and the Environment Minister Shri Prakash Javadekar ji, who have provided exceptional leadership both nationally and globally to promote sustainability through various initiatives like decarbonization, promotion of renewable energy through the Prime Minister's leadership role in the International Solar Alliance, promotion of technology innovation to help low carbon approaches, so on and so forth. The Indian chemical industry is fully committed to support the national goal of achieving a low carbon economy with resource efficient technologies and a circular economy through a comprehensive recycling approach. ICC's flagship Responsible Care program covers not only aspects of safe production of chemicals, but also environmental sustainability and security of chemicals. Responsible care companies always strive to go beyond what is specified by compliance as a means of commitment to providing safe and a secure environment to all their employees, workers, and also the nearby community. It is time that all large responsible care companies handhold the other companies in their neighborhoods to ensure that we double the count of responsible care holders year on year. The responsible care approach is a safety commitment by the chemical industry to the community at large. It promotes safety and security to the community from the use of chemicals from cradle to the grave. And even as now the focus is shifting from cradle to cradle. The Indian Chemical Council works extremely closely with all stakeholders to support our national commitments to international conventions, the Montreal Protocol, the Basel Convention, the Stockholm Convention, and many other conventions, and we work in conjunction with international bodies like UNEP, UNFCCC, and other such bodies. We would like to express our deep appreciation and gratitude to the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, for partnering and supporting the promotion of sustainability for the Indian chemical industry. UNEP has signed an MOU with the ICCA, of which ICC is a member. We believe we can have continuous interactions with all stakeholders to promote innovation and sustainability. With the ICC's and ICCA's global reach, we can work closely with our national research institutions and leading institutes like IIT and other national research bodies in the private sector on an institutional basis. We would request the government to take a lead in such a role with the leading chemical research institutions, with probably one of them acting as a lead coordinator. We continue to be optimistic about the Indian chemical industry for investment, growth and innovation, and we expect a lot of investments to come in from both domestic and international companies. But underlying all of this, we are extremely confident that the theme of sustainability will be all prevalent. The journey towards sustainability is not a journey that can be undertaken by the company alone, but it has to be one that is undertaken by all stakeholders. We are extremely happy with the response over the last 2 days, where so many distinguished speakers have taken their time and deliberated on many novel sustainability practices that can be carried forward by our member companies for implementation. The ICC will endeavour to follow up and support the implementation of these recommendations emanating out of this conclave. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for dialing in and participating in the second ICC Sustainability Conclave and wishing you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay Shankar, for giving a short and targeted approach that ICC and the chemical industry should follow. We are indeed grateful to you for initiating this sustainability conclave that we started when you were president. Now we come to the last and a very pleasant task of concluding this conclave on a note of satisfaction. And we are indeed very grateful to our Director General, Mr. S.S. Karangle, who has really guided and monitored all the developments from Mumbai. So first I thank him. And now I would request him to kindly give a vote of thanks to all our stakeholders who have supported us in making this event a success. Mr. Karangle, the mic and floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mishra, for this. When we started this thinking, this was supposed to be there until October itself. But when we decided, of course, it was not possible. And then we thought physically it will not be possible. And we have decided we'll do virtual. And only thing in virtual and physical, one thing which I miss, if I would have been physical, I would have been able to see the satisfied faces of all the audience after 2 days of rigorous presentations and all that. We were thinking how, whether in virtual many people will attend or not, but to tell you, this has also gone exactly like a physical one. The first day it was 400 plus attendance. Second day, as it happens in physical, attendance reduced to 270. And by the time I am giving thanks, probably only 120 or 150 people are there. But many times I say, those who are interested people, they stay up to end. And so all of you who are now present, I thank you very much to you for being here. When we decided this is actually, even though it is called Sustainability Conclave 2020, it is actually Sustainability Conclave 2019. Because of this pandemic, it is shifted and it is shifted into January. Now I'm sure we will have the third version in this year itself. That will be again Sustainability Conclave 2021 by year end. And I hope all of you will again join. Now, these 2 days really, I was just wondering when we discuss sustainability, and always it is, everybody has told, and the theme was like that sustainability makes economic sense, that it is not a cost center, but it is a profit center. And so many speakers have spoken on this. And after this, I need not go into details because you people have gone through it. But after being, I was always thinking that so much is talked about the atmosphere being damaged, etc. But after listening to all these people for 2 days, I am sure chemical industry is in safe hand, and we will have a sustainable development for sure. And at least on chemical industry's behalf, I can say we will not damage the earth further anymore, and we will rather reverse it. And particularly Mr. Banerjee has said about it, all we do is talk about it and then walk the talk. Now 2 days we have talked about the sustainability. Now all of us has to walk the talk and bring that in practice. Many bigger industries are doing this, but MSMEs and smaller industries will also do. They will become responsible care companies. And ICC is driving responsible care. And as somebody must have told you that our logo holder companies have become 68. Our target for this year is 100. And I'm sure with your help, we will be able to achieve. And this, ICC has made one more initiative that is about nicer globe for a hazardous transport safety. And I appeal to all of you, all members who are there, to become member to avoid unnecessarily damage to the atmosphere, whether it is soil, water, or air, or as Mr. Vivek Shetty said, even tide. Now, coming to my main job, which is entrusted to me by Mr. Kamlesh Mishra. See, what begins well, ends well. Now it is ending well, but it began well by getting the president's message. It was really heartening to have encouraging message from the Prime Minister, not President, sorry, Prime Minister's message. Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji has given his message, which was very, very encouraging, and that set the tune for the whole of the sessions. Then leaders of the chemical industry from USA, Europe, and India, they have expressed their opinions. There were presentations for minimizing the environment and societal impact. There were innovation-driven sustainability, and these innovations taken to the next level, and we can make a sustainable this. So our thanks is also due to Professor Mr. Vijay Raghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor, Government of India, UNEP team, Miss Ligia, Miss Monica, Miss Nalini Sharma, Mr. Atul Bagai, Mr. Jitendra Sharma, and special thanks to UNEP also for providing financial support. From ICCA, Miss Nathalia Allard was there. From ACC, Miss Jim Ritterling, Chairman and CEO, Mark Vargano, and Anne Colton. They are from ACC. And from CIFIC, Marco Mensik was there. From ERM, Ms. Nina Singh. All of them deserves very, very sincere thanks from ICC for coming, joining from wherever they are. I was about to say coming, but that I will say next year. Next year, you people are going to come to Delhi for this conference, which will be at the end of the year. Also, our thanks are due to knowledge partner ERM, where Shivananda Sethi and Miss Tanvi and Miss Neela Singh, and they have presented knowledge paper also. Thanks to them. From Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, Dr. Vishal Chaudhary was there. Many, many thanks to you, sir. Our Delhi unit, they have done a marvelous job. Initially, it was hesitant because whether it will be possible to organize within 1 or 2 months such a huge conference. But all Mr. Mishra, Mr. P. Singh, Mr. Kunal, Mr. Rakesh Kumar, all these, they have worked very, very hard to make it successful. But all the time, this was possible because of leadership provided by Mr. Ravi Kapoor, UBUX CMD, and our Sustainability Committee Chairman and past President, because he is having many hats. I can't count all the hats. But he is really inspiration to us, and he has directed this program so well. I was really thinking whether 2 days continuously sitting before the laptop, whether people will be able to do. But I prove myself wrong. Really, the attendance throughout the period was very good, and this is all because of the program is also so effective. So all this team, Delhi team, and of course Mumbai team has supported whenever necessary from there. So in all, this was a very successful conference, and there are, of course, our event manager, I don't remember the name, but it is Support Optimize. I think that should be the name. So they have also done a marvelous job. There, when we organize virtual, there may be some glitches here and there, but on the whole, this was arranged extremely well. I thank everybody who has participated, and then not last but not least, but the last is our sponsors. With their help only we could get this going. So thank you all. And I like to say you that ICC is also organizing India Outlook Conference, that is 14th in the series, which will be scheduled on 25th and 26th of February. I appeal all of you to join that conference also, to make our efforts, recognize our efforts and encourage us. Thank you very much all once again. Thank you.